Former world champion MJF could be returning to AEW very soon, this according to a FightfulSelect.com report that we're going to cover right here in this video. We're going to tell you everything we know about this MJF situation. Where's he been? Where's he going? When could he possibly show up? All that much more coming up in this video. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. All right, let's get right into it and talk about MJF. Obviously, we have not seen MJF ever since AEW World's End back in December. He has been a ghost, barely visible online or in public. However, he has recently made appearances in a sling. I believe he was at Comic-Con just a few weeks ago, and the talk of the town that day was MJF was allegedly just to have had surgery to repair his torn shoulder labrum, which would mean that he's out for an extensive period of time. Reports have since come out that kind of point to something else being afoot, potentially a work, and that may not have happened. But let's go into the Fightful Select report that was outlined today. Here it is from Wrestle Purists, who aggregated this from FightfulSelect.com. Go check them out. Says, discussions have happened regarding MJF making an on-screen return to AEW. There are several sources within AEW that believe that he could be coming back sooner than later, with most expecting him back in the fold by Forbidden Door in New York, if not sooner. We also have a bit of an update on his contract that we're going to talk about later in this video, but let's talk about this part first. MJF returning. It's an interesting story because, as I mentioned before, we were recently talking about him potentially having surgery. There's been rumor and speculation that was a work. And now we get this bombshell report from FightfulSelect.com stating that, well, he might be coming soon and he might be just around the corner as far as his return, which would be an amazing thing, quite frankly, for everyone, right? I mean, say what you want about MJF, say what you want about, whether or not you were a fan of his latest run in All Elite Wrestling. Fact of the matter is, AEW needs its biggest stars right now. As I've mentioned in previous breakdowns, Kenny Omega, MJF, Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Hangman Adam Page not being on TV has really hurt the program and the importance of the show. The show does not feel as important, I should say, without its biggest stars. And for most of 2023, there was no bigger star in AEW than Maxwell Jacob Friedman. So to hear that he could be coming back sooner rather than later is, I think, a very good thing for AEW, to say the least. Like, this is fantastic news. Tony Khan is probably doing jumping jacks somewhere, knowing that this is possibly happening very soon. Of course, Forbidden Door is going to be at the UBS Arena in Long Island, New York. That is the hometown of MJF, the place where we last saw him at World's End, and it would make sense for that to be one of the places we see him first when he returns. I will say this, from a booking standpoint, I think that if AEW is going to have MJF return, it would make a lot of sense to have him return, I think, before Forbidden Door. And here is why. While we all know that Forbidden Door pop, it's going to be amazing and it's going to be loud as all hell and people are going to lose their minds at the UBS Arena, it is way better for them from a business standpoint and to build up hype for the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, for AEW Dynamite, and just coming out potentially of Double or Nothing, for them to have him return well before them. If I was doing it, I would try to find a way to make him return at Double or Nothing. And it would be, almost like a seminal moment for AEW to mark their 5th anniversary with one of the biggest homegrown stars returning. And also, at the same time, you could build up TV and build up towards a pay-per-view in his hometown and whatever big match they're going to do. And, there are a bunch of big matches you could do with MJF. It's almost a foregone conclusion that will be the case. He should wrestle in his hometown or something to that effect. I mean, I would hope so at least, but you want to build up momentum for that pay-per-view. You want to sell tickets, to be honest, with that pay-per-view. Right now, I believe the previous count for this pay-per-view from WrestleTix was somewhere around 6,000. And again, this is an arena for wrestling that can fit anywhere from 10 to 12,000. So if MJF does return and he does so before Forbidden Door, that gives them more time to move tickets and potentially have like a really hot crowd, even hotter than they originally would have had for Forbidden Door. So hopefully that is the case, but the good news is that it does in fact look like we are getting MJF back soon, and given the fact that he is one of my favorite wrestlers, that is so dope. Moving on to the next part of the story, let's talk about MJF's contract. So this is again FightfulSelect.com aggregation by WrestlePurist. MJF got a contract extension with AEW at some point following the controversial Double or Nothing 2022 situation, and he remains under contract for quite some time. MJF himself would not confirm that too much of anyone in the industry and many close to him. MJF is among the highest earners in AEW as per the deal. So the Double or Nothing situation they are referring to back in 2022 was this reported situation where MJF no-showed a sideline event for Double or Nothing. I believe it was at their Fan Fest, and it was all due to a contract dispute that MJF had due to he felt like he was not earning the money he should have. There were reports of him or someone close to him buying a ticket basically back home from Vegas, which became a story of its own, and it really dominated the headlines. It dominated the industry for that period of time and cast a shadow over his match against Wardlow. But coming out of that, it was kind of clear, according to a lot of the reports and things that were heard after that, where MJF signed a new deal. Like, it's been widely accepted that was the case, and now Fightful Select really just kind of cementing that, like something that we already knew. Like, the whole bidding war of 2024 thing was a real thing up until it wasn't. And AEW, the reason they were continuing to push this as a story, and MJF is continuing to push this as a story, is because why not? It's a story that people believe in. It's a story that people have been told. Why not see it through? I think that's why you haven't heard them, say, oh, MJF is re-signed. Because to a lot of people, you still have a lot of wrestling fans who are like, oh man, MJF is going to go to WWE's contract is up. Like, work him. Work him. That's a good thing. Work him. And then when he comes back to AEW, he's going to be the talk of the town, and it's going to mean even more. As far as the contract situation, he deserves to be one of, if not the highest paid person in AEW. He carried that company in 2023. You can say that CM Punk was the driving force behind the all-in ticket sales. MJF was the star. That is the truth. MJF headlined that pay-per-view. Everyone knew MJF was going to headline that pay-per-view. Everyone was excited, and it was the hottest thing on that show. So this is your guy. Like, if I were to say, like, there are two people I can point to, like, that define what AEW is and what it can be: Jon Moxley and Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Two of the best to do it. Two of the best to do it right now. Two of the best storytellers, period, in professional wrestling. I think he is invaluable as far as a wrestling mind goes, the way he thinks about wrestling. And, like, if you go back and listen to podcasts or even press conferences he's done when he's asked about this, he's very clear that he understands in-ring psychology. He understands how to get a reaction out of the fans. And he understands it on such a high level. He can get something as simple and easy as, a kangaroo kick over or a double clothesline. Moves that are fairly simple, but he's able to manipulate the crowd reaction, which is all wrestling is about, and make those must-see maneuvers. And on top of that, he just happens to be one of the best wrestlers in the world. He proved that match in, match out. You don't believe me? Watch the dog collar match with Punk. Watch the Iron Man match with Bryan. Watch his match with Kenny Omega. MJF delivers. He always has. People forget that he wrestles apparently like once a month. Everyone's always like, oh man, MJF can't wrestle. And then at the pay-per-view, he reminds them. That's why he makes the big bucks. That's why he's AEW's cash cow. That is why he still remains all elite and why he probably should for a long time if Tony Khan should have anything to say about it. But guys, I want to hear from you. What do you guys think about MJF, his contract, him potentially returning? When would you want to see MJF make his long-awaited return to All Elite Wrestling? Let me know in the comments section. Be sure also to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Until next time, I'm Omer Q for Real Take Wrestling. Be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.